All right, so for today, we're going to talk about tax, tip, markups, and commissions. So think back to the first lesson when we were calculating percents. We talked about using the percent proportion. The percent proportion is the part over the whole equals the percent over 100. Now, before we had talked about some is and of to help you determine which one is which, but for this, that does not work. So on this one, the whole, you can identify the whole as the subtotal. And sometimes we call that the original amount. Now, for these first couple of problems, the subtotals are given to you in the problem. Okay, looking down, taxes, tips, and markups are all percent increases on the original price. Percent equation or percent proportions can be used to solve. For us, we did not talk about method number 2, so we will not be using method number 2, which is the percent equation, but rather we're going to use that percent proportion, which we just said was part over whole equals the percent over 100. A tax or a tip, if you are going to a store, you have to pay taxes on tips on the amount of what you're purchasing. Now, this is a dollar amount that is added to the subtotal. So your subtotal would be like if I bought a bunch of things and I added up all of the cost of those things, that's the subtotal. And then you calculate your tax or your tip using that subtotal amount. So for our first one, we're going to start with part, percent, and whole down the side. Our subtotal is $13.50, so that's going to be our whole. 10% is the tax, so we're going to put 10 for percent, and they do not give me the part, so I'm going to put X. Now I'm going to use my percent proportion and plug everything in. So remember, part over whole equals percent over 100. So using my numbers to start this off, part over whole is X over $13.50 equals the percent, which is 10 over 100. To solve a proportion, we use cross multiplication. So I'm going to take 100 times X, which is 100X. And then I'm going to do $13.50 times 10, which gives me 135. To solve this one-step equation, I need to split it down the equal sign and divide both sides by 100. When I divide both sides by 100, I get X equals 1 35/100. Now we are talking about money, so to say this correctly, $1.35. This is the amount that I am paying in tax, the dollar amount that I am paying in tax. Remember, money is always rounded to 2 decimal places. So moving on to our next one, we're going to do part, percent, and whole. Our subtotal is our whole, so $24.90 is the whole. 17% is the tip, so that's the percent, and X is the part. Plugging it into my percent proportion, X over $24.90 is 17 over 100. Using cross multiplication, I'm going to solve this. So I take X times 100, which is 100X, and $24.90 times 17 is $423.03. To solve this, I'll split it down the equation, or the equal sign, and then divide both sides by 100. Dividing it by 100, I get X equals 4.233. Now we can stop here because remember, money is always rounded correctly to 2 decimal places. Rounding rules apply. So if it is a 1 through 4, the number stays, and if it is a 5 or above, it rounds up. That 3 tells the 3 in front of it to stay. So my tip on this is $4. There we go. $4.23 is the tip because rounding correctly, the 3 tells the other 3 to stay. There are 2 more problems underneath this one. I'd like you to try both of them on your own. Pause the video, work them out, and then unpause the video and compare your answers to my answers. All right, now that you've had a chance to go ahead and do them yourself, let's go over them. First thing, part, percent, whole. X is my part, 8 and 25/100ths is the percent, and 109 is the whole. Plugging it into my percent proportion, I have X over 109 equals 8 and 25/100ths over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve, I get 100x equals 109 times 8 and 25/100ths, which is 899 and 25/100ths, dividing both sides by 100. I am left with x equals 8.9925. And now remember, we have to round this correctly to 2 decimal places. So I'm looking at the second decimal place, which is a 9. The 2 behind the 9 tells it to stay the same. So when rounded, this is $8.99 in tax. Moving on to our next one, part, percent, whole down the side. The subtotal is, the part is X, the percent is 20, the subtotal is $498.50. Plugging them into my percent proportion, I get X over $498.50 equals 20 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve, I'm going to take X times 100, which is 100X, equals $498.50 times 20 is $9,970. Solving this, I'm going to divide both sides by 100, and I am left with X equals 99.7. Now remember, we're talking about money, and money always has 2 decimal places. So put the 0 after the 7. So this is $99.70 in tip. Okay, now that we spent some time just learning to calculate the tip or the tax, now the directions say determine the price after the tax or the tip is applied. So we are talking about the total amount. The total amount equals the subtotal plus the amount you find for tax or tip. So we're going to start this out exactly in the same way. We're going to continue with doing part, percent, and whole down the side first thing. The subtotal is still the whole, so $62.50 is still the whole. The percent is 8, and the part is X. Plugging it into my percent proportion, I get X over $62.50 equals 8 over 100. Using cross multiplication, I'm going to take X times 100, and I get 100X, and 6250 times 8 equals 500 exactly. Solving this, I'm going to divide both sides by 100, and I am left with x equals 5. Now remember, we're talking about money, so go ahead and put your decimals, so it's $5. That is the amount that you're spending in tax. Now the question asks you for the total amount, and we said to find the total amount, you need to take the original subtotal, $62.50, and add it to the amount of money you found for tax, which for this problem was $5. When I add them together, you can put it into your calculator, of course, but do show your work. $62.50 plus $5 is $67.50 as my total amount of money with the tax that I had to spend. Okay, moving on to my next one, part, percent, and whole. Remember, subtotal is $22.75. It's the whole. The percent is 15, and the part is not given, so it is X. Plugging it into my percent proportion, I have X over $22.75 equals the percent, which is 15 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve, 100 times X is 100X, and $22.75 times 15 is 341 and 25/100ths. To solve, I'm going to divide both sides by 100, and I am left with X equals 3.4125. Remember, money rounds to two decimal places. The 1 is in the second decimal place, so I'm going to look to the number behind. The 2 tells the 1 to stay, so this means that it is going to be $3.41 in a tip. The question asks you to find the total, so you need to go back and add to find the total. We're going to take the original subtotal, which was $22.75, and add it to the amount we found for tip, which is $3.41. When I add those two things together, $22.75 plus $3.41 is $26.16 total that I'm spending. Now there are two problems underneath. Go ahead and work those on your own. Pause the video, work the problems, pause the video, and compare your answers to mine. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work them out, let's go ahead and go over them. First thing you should do, part, percent, and whole down the side. Part is X, percent is 7.5, and the whole is 125. Using your proportion, X over 125 equals your percent, 7.5 over 100. Using cross multiplication, I get 100 times X is 100X. And 125 times 7.5 is 937 and 5/10. Solving this, I'm going to divide both sides by 100. And I am left with X equals 9.375. It's money, so I have to round it to two decimal places. The 7 is in the second decimal place. So using the 5 to round, the 5 tells the 7 to round up to an 8. So this means my tax is $9.38. Now remember, the question did ask you to find the total, so you need to go back and add. You need to take the subtotal, $125, and add it to the tax. We found the tax was $9.38. And when I add those two things together, I should get that it is $134.38 for my total with tax. Moving over to my next one, I'm going to start with part, percent, and whole down the side. Part is X, percent is 18, whole is $45.50. Using my percent equation, or proportion, X over $45.50 equals 18 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve this, I'm going to take X times 100. I get 100X, and $45.50 times 18 equals 819 exactly. Solving this equation, I'm going to divide both sides by 100, and I am left with X equals 8.19. There are no more decimals, no rounding, so this is $8.19 in a tip. Now the question asks for the total, so to find the total, I need to take the original subtotal, $45.50, and I need to add that to the tip, which was $8.19. When I add $45.50 plus $8.19, I get that my total is $53.69 total. All right, now we're going to work on the word problems on the next page. The first one says a textbook company purchases a book for $83 and then marks it up 225%. How much does the textbook company sell the textbook for? So when companies are selling you product, they don't sell it to you for what they purchased it for or what they made it for. They use something called a markup so that they can sell it for a profit. It's how companies make money. So anytime that you're buying something, they have marked it up so that the company is able to make a profit off of the item. So when we talked earlier, we said that the whole is identified by sometimes the subtotal or the original amount. For this particular problem, $83 is the original amount that the textbook was purchased for. So we're going to do part, percent, and whole down the side. The original is the whole, so $83 goes in for the whole. The percent is 225, and the part we don't know, so we're going to put X. Now we're going to use our percent proportion, so we're going to do X over 83 equals our percent, 225 over 100. Using cross multiplication, we're going to do X times 100. That's 100x. And then we're going to do 83 times 225, and that is 18,675. To solve the equation, then we're going to divide both sides by 100. And when we do that, we get X equals, $186.75. And remember, this is just the markup. This is not for what they're selling it for. So you need to go back and take the original price, which was $83, and you need to add the amount that they're marking up this book, so $186.75. When you add them together, 83 plus $186.75, you should get $269.75 is the total for the book. Looking at our next one, you're going to go ahead and do these on your own. Lily's dinner bill is $32.60. If she leaves a 16% tip, how much tip does she leave? Now notice it just asks you for the tip amount. It does not ask you for the total, so you don't need to do the total on that one. And then we're going to look down on the bottom one. We're going to fill in the part, percent, and whole together. So Clark leaves a tip of $23.76 on a $132 bill. What percent tip did he leave? So you'll notice they did not give you the percent this time. The $132 is the original amount or your subtotal. So that's going to be your whole, 132, which means that the amount of his tip, $23.76, is going to be put in for the part. So the part is $23.76, and now you're going to put X for the percent. So you're going to work through the first one on your own. Remember, you're just giving me the tip, and then you'll finish out the second one on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, work through the problems, and when you're finished, unpause. Now that you've done it, let's go over it. For the first one, for the part is X, for the percent is 16, and the whole is $32.60. We're going to plug it into our percent proportion. X over $32.60 equals 16 over 100. Using cross multiplication, we're going to do X times 100, which is 100X. And then we're going to do $32.60 times 16, which is 521 6/10. Dividing both sides by 100, I am left with X equals 5.216. And now remember, this is money, so we have to round it to the nearest two decimals. So the 1 is the second decimal. The 6 tells the 1 to round up to a 2. So this is a $5.22 tip. Now remember, it did not ask you for the total, so you do not have to go back and add. Moving on to our next one. We already have our part, percent, and whole filled out, so let's go ahead and plug it into our percent proportion. We're going to do part over whole, so $23.76 over 132 equals your percent, which is X over 100. We're going to cross multiply, so 132 times X is 132X. And $23.76 times 100 is 2,376. 2,376 divided by 132 on both sides means that X equals 18. And because we were looking for the percent, we're going to go ahead and make sure we put a percent sign. And then we know that he left an 18% tip on his bill. Now, when tax and tip are added to an original cost, the order in which you calculate each additional cost is important. Unless otherwise asked, this chart is the standard procedure. So first you need to calculate the subtotal. Now sometimes the subtotal is given to you, but sometimes it could be a list of things, like you buy a hamburger for $10 and you buy a soda for $3. You might have to go back and calculate the subtotal on your own. Once you calculate the subtotal, then you're going to plug all of that in using our percent proportion to find the tax. After you do that, you're going to find something called a new subtotal. Once you get the new subtotal, you're going to plug all of that back into your percent proportion to find your tip. Now, there are quite a few steps, and it's really like repeating the same step twice, but you are definitely going to want to keep your work organized and neat, so that way you are not confused when you're going back to do it. After you get your subtotal and your tax and your tip amount, then the very last thing for you to do is go ahead and find your total for the entire bill. That is the subtotal, the tax, and the tip all added together. So first thing I'm going to do is divide these up. So I'm going to split it, and then notice I'm going to split it again. This allows me some room so that I can work, and I have two sections to do. So I have to first calculate the tax, and then I have to go back through and calculate the tip. Starting, I'm going to remember the subtotal is always the whole, so we're going to do part, percent, whole down the side. The subtotal is $8.50, so I'm going to plug $8.50 in for the whole because that is my subtotal. The percent, because I'm doing the tax, so match it with the tax, is 7 25/100. So 7.25 is my percent. And then finally, I'm going to put X for my part. I'm going to use my percent proportion now to set it up. I'm going to do X over $8.50 equals 7 and 25 hundredths over 100. We're going to cross multiply. X times 100 and $8.50 times 7 and 25 hundredths. X times 100 is 100x, and $8.50 times 7 and 25 hundredths is 61.625. Solve this by dividing both sides by 100. Once I divide by 100, I get x equals 0.61625. Now remember, we need to do this as money, so 2 decimal places, that's the 1. The 6 behind the 1 tells the 1 to round up to a 2. So rounding now, this is money, so we're going to say it is 62 cents for my tax. Now, once you find your tax, you're going to add it back to your original subtotal so that you can get something called your new subtotal. So to find your new subtotal, you're going to take your original subtotal, which for this was $8.50, and you're going to add the tax to it. So $8.50 plus 62 cents means that my new subtotal is $9.12. Now, once I have my new subtotal, I'm going to immediately take that and use that as the whole when I am calculating the tip. So we're going to do part, percent, and whole down the side. And I'm going to take $9.12. It's the new subtotal. So I'm going to plug it in for the whole on the tip. So here I am writing it for the whole. So $9.12. Notice we're not using the original subtotal anymore. We're using the new subtotal, which was the original subtotal plus the tax. So $9.12 is your whole. 20 was the percent for the tip part, so I am putting 20 for the percent, and then X is the part. Using my percent proportion, X over $9.12 is 20 over 100. Using cross multiplication, I'm going to multiply them. X times 100 is 100x, and $9.12 times 20 is 182 and 4/10. Now solving it, I'm going to divide both sides by 100. And when I do that, I get x equals 1.824. Now remember money, so 2 decimal places. The 2 is in the second decimal place, so the 4 tells the 2 to stay the same. So this is $1.82 in the tip. Now the very last thing to do is to go and find the total. So to find the total amount, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the original subtotal. So that is the subtotal that you found at the beginning of the problem. So this one was $8.50. And then you're going to add the amount that you found for tax and then the amount that you found for the tip. So $8.50 plus the tax, which was 62 cents, plus the amount that I found for tip, which was $1.82. When I add them all together, $8.50 plus 62 cents plus $1.82, I get that my total is $10.94 total. So that is the total amount that I would be paying with tax included and my tip included. All right, let's go ahead and do our next one. Remember, we're going to set it up because you basically have to go through the percent proportion 2 different times. So I have a subtotal of $149, a tax of 8.5%, and a tip of 18%. I'm going to split it up into tax and tip because I have to go through this twice. So for tax, I'm going to calculate my tax first. Part, percent, and whole down the side. The whole is the subtotal, so $149.60 is my subtotal, so that's my whole. Then I'm doing the tax, so 8.5% is my tax, so 8.5% is what I'm going to use on this part. And I do not know the part, so I write X. Setting up my percent proportion, I'm going to do X over $149.60 equals 8.5 over 100. Okay, now cross multiplying to solve. I'm going to do X times 100, which is 100X, and then $149.60 times 8.5 equals $1,271.06. To solve this, I'm going to divide both sides by 100. I am left with X equals, and when I divide this by 100, I get 12.716. Remember, money is always rounded to 2 decimal places. The 6 tells the 1 to round up. So rounding, I get $12.72. This is the amount of money I am paying in tax. Once you have your amount of money for tax, we have to go back and find our new subtotal. Remember, our new subtotal is the original subtotal, which was $149.60. And we add that to the amount we found for tax, which was $12.72. When I add them together, $149.60 plus $12.72, I get that my total is $162.32. And once again, this is our new subtotal. Once we have a new subtotal, we take that and we put it in for the whole in our tip. So down in the tip, do part, percent, and whole, and immediately take that new subtotal that you found and put it in for the whole on the tip piece. So $162.32 is the whole. For the percent, we're going to look back up to the top. It says we're doing the tip, so 18% is my percent, so we're going to plug that in for the percent. And then they don't give us the parts, so we're going to write X. Using our percent proportion, we're going to do X over 162 and 32 hundredths, or 32 cents, equals 18 over 100. Using cross multiplication, 100 times X is 100X, and $162.32 times 18 is 2,921 and 76 hundredths. Now to solve, we're going to divide both sides of our equation by 100. Once I do that, I am left with X equals 29.2176. Now remember, money, 2 decimal places. The 1 is in the second decimal place, so the 7 tells the 1 to round up to a 2. So rounding this, I get that the tip is $29.22. Now the last thing that we need to go back and do is calculate our total. Remember, our total amount that we're going to pay is the subtotal plus the amount that we get for the tax plus the amount that we get for the tip. So going back, subtotal you'll find in the problem. This particular one was $149.60, so that's our subtotal. And then for tax, I'm going to go back to the number I found for tax, which was $12.72. So I'm going to write that in for my tax. And then finally, the amount that I found for the tip is $29.22 for the tip. And then the very last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add them all together. So $149.60 plus $12.72 plus $29.22 means that my total amount is $191.54 total, and that is with tax and tip. Now you will notice that I have been labeling which ones are tax and tip so that when I can go through and find the total, I know what I'm looking for. There are 2 more problems. Go ahead and try those next 2 on your own, and then we'll pause the video. You'll do them on your own. Once you're finished doing them, unpause the video, and then we can go over them together. All right, so now that you've had time to do them on your own, let's go ahead and do them together. I have them already divided up with part, percent, and whole on each one. So let's go ahead and get started on the first one. We're going to do tax first. So tax is 9%. So make sure you know that that's the percent. The subtotal is $54.75. That's the whole. 9% is the tax. So that's going to go for the percent, and X is the part. Putting it in my percent proportion, X over $54.75 equals 9 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve this, I'm going to take X times 100, that's 100X, and then $54.75 times 9 gives me equals $492.75, or 75 hundredths. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 100 to solve, and I'm left with X equals 4.9275. We need to round this to 2 decimal places, so the 2 is in the second decimal place. So the 7 tells the 2 to round up to a 3. So I get $4.93 is my tax. And once again, you'll notice I'm labeling so that it's easy for me to find these numbers. Now, after I found the tax, I need to go back and find my new subtotal. To find my new subtotal, I'm going to take the original subtotal, which was $54.75, and I'm going to add the tax, which was $4.93 together. $54.75 plus $4.93 gives me $59.68. This is now my new subtotal, so I'm immediately going to drop it down into the whole for the second part of this for when I'm calculating the tip. So down for the whole, I'm going to put my new subtotal, which was $59.68. And then I'm going to go back and I'm looking at my percent for the tip. On this particular one, the tip is 15%, so 15 is what I'm going to plug in for my percent. And I still do not know the part, so I'm going to write X. Using my percent proportion, X over $59.68 equals 15 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve, I'm going to do 100 times X, which is 100X, and $59.68 times 15 equals $895.02. Dividing both sides by 100, I am now left with X equals 8.952. I need to round this correctly to 2 decimal places. The 2 tells the 5 to stay. So this is $8.95 as a tip. The very last thing we need to do is go back and calculate our total amount. Remember, to calculate the total amount, we need to take the original subtotal. We need to take the amount we found for tax and the amount we found for tip and add them all together. Looking back to my problem, the original subtotal, $54.75. The tax I found was $4.93. And then last but not least, the tip I found was $8.95. Now adding them all together, $54.75 plus $4.93 plus $8.95 gives me a total of $68.63 for my total, and that is including tax and tip. Moving on to my second one. The subtotal is $22.80. That's my whole. I'm doing the tax, so I'm looking at the percent for the tax, which is 8.5%. I do not know the part, it's X. Putting in my percent proportion, X over $22.80 equals 8.5 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve this, I'm going to take X times 100, which is 100X. And then I'm going to do $22.80 times 8.5, which equals 193 and 8/10. Dividing both sides by 100, I am now left with X equals 1.938. Rounding correctly to 2 decimal places, this tells me the 3 is in the second decimal. The 8 tells the 3 to round up. So rounding this correctly, it is $1.94. That is the amount that I am paying in tax. After we find the tax, we need to go back and find the new subtotal. Remember, to find the new subtotal, we take the original subtotal, $22.80, and we add the amount we're paying in tax, $1.94. When I add those two numbers together, so when I add $22.80 plus $1.94, I get $24.74. This is my new subtotal, and I'm going to immediately go and substitute it in for the whole on the bottom. Remember, new subtotal becomes the whole when we're calculating the tip. So $24.74 is the whole. Now I need the percentage. Looking at the tip, it is a 20% tip, so 20 is my percent. And last but not least, part is X. Using my percent proportion, X over $24.74 equals 20 over 100. Using cross multiplication to solve, X times 100 is 100X, and $24.74 times 20 gives me $494 and 8/10. Dividing both sides by 100. When I do that, I get X equals 4.948. Rounding correctly to 2 decimal places, the 4 is in the second decimal place, which the 8 tells the 4 to round up to a 5. So this is $4.95 in tip. So this is the amount of money I'm paying for the tip. The very last thing to do is to calculate the total. Remember, to calculate the total, we need the original subtotal. We need the amount of money we paid in tax, and we need the amount of money we paid in tip. That's why I labeled them, and we're going to add them all together. The subtotal, the original subtotal, was $22.80. The amount that I paid for tax was $1.94. The amount that I paid for tip was $4.95. Now to find the total, I'm going to take $22.80 plus $1.94 plus $4.95, and I get that my total is $29.69, and that is my total with tax and tip applied. All right, the last section that we're going to do in our notes is about commission. Commission is a fee that is paid for services. It is usually a percentage of the total sales. So first you need to know how much somebody is getting for the total sales, and then they get a percent commission for that. Now, a lot of people who work on commission also get paid a salary or an hourly rate, So they get their hourly rate plus this percent that they get on commission. Now, this could be someone like a car salesman or something like that. Looking at our first one, Jared earns a 6% commission on TVs sold. Last month, he sold 47 TVs at $480 each. What was his commission? First, we have to find the total sales. He sold 47 TVs, and each one is going to cost $480. So to find the total sales, we need to take the number of TVs that he sold, which was 47, and multiply it by how much it costs for each TV. So we're going to do 47 times 480, and you can just multiply that in your calculator. 47 times 480 means that he sold $22,560 worth of TVs. Now we're still going to use our percent proportion to solve for his percent of commission that he's getting. We're going to do our part, percent, and whole down the side. His total sales, that's what he's getting commission off of. So the total sales is like your original price or your subtotal. So it's the whole. So 22,560 is the whole. Looking up into the problem, it says he gets a 6% commission. So you're going to put 6 for the percent and X for the part. Now we're going to use our percent proportion and plug everything in. Remember, it is the part over the whole. 22,560 is the whole. X is the part. Equals 6 over 100. We're going to cross multiply to solve this. So 100 times X is 100X. And 22,560 times 6 equals 135,360. Now to finish solving, I'm going to divide both sides by 100. When I divide both sides by 100, I get X equals 1,353.60. So that means his commission for selling those 47 TVs is $1,353.60. Now, if it just asks for the commission, you can stop there. Looking to our next problem, Melissa earns $11.25 per hour plus a 4% commission on all of her sales. Last week, she worked 32 hours and her sales were $3,560. How much did she earn? So on a problem like this one, they gave you her total sales already, so you don't have to calculate that. So you're going to use your percent your percent proportion, and use the total sales that you already were given in the problem as your whole. So we're going to do part, percent, and whole down the side. We already said that 3,560 is the whole because that's her total sales. Her percent commission is 4%, so 4 is our percent, and X is my part. Using my percent proportion, part over whole equals percent over 100. So X over 3,560 equals 4 over 100. Cross multiplying, 100 times X is 100X. 3,560 times 4 is 14,000. 240. To finish solving, we're going to divide both sides by 100, and I get that x equals 142 and 4/10, but remember this is money, so don't forget your zero afterwards. Now this is how much money she makes for commission. The question asks what is the total amount that she's earning. So now that you know how much she earned in commission, you have to figure out how much money she got for using her hourly rate. So she makes $11.25 per hour, and she worked for 32 hours. So to calculate the money that she makes for her hourly rate, we're going to take how much money she makes per hour, which was $11.25, and we're going to multiply it by how many hours she worked, which was 32. When I multiply them on my calculator, I get that the money she earned from her hourly wage was $360, making sure to put 2 decimal places because it's money. Now, if I want her total amount, I need to combine her hourly wage plus what her commission was to get her total amount. So I'm going to take 360, which is the hourly wage, plus what she made for commission, which was $142.40. And I'm going to add them together. When I add them together, I get $502.40 for her total amount of money that she earned. You have a problem exactly like this on your homework. Number 9 is exactly like the W, and it is also exactly like the Y that you're about to do. So please make sure when you get to number 9 on your homework, if you're stuck, you can use it for reference. Go ahead and do the first Y on your own. Pause the video, work out the problem. Once you're finished, unpause the video, check it with what I've done. All right, now that you've done it yourself, let's go ahead and go over it. Anna earns $9.50 per hour plus a 2% commission. Part percent whole down the side. First thing, we need her total sales. They gave it to you. It says last month her sales were $16,750. So since that is her total sales, we're going to put that in for the whole amount. So 16,750 is the whole. Looking back, it says she gets a 2% commission. So 2 is the percent, and then X is the part. Using my percent proportion, I'm going to do X over 16,750 equals 2 over 100. Using cross multiplication, 100 times X is 100X, and 16,750 times 2 gives me 33,560. To finish solving, we divide both sides by 100, and that tells me that her commission, or X, equals $335.60. Remember, this is the amount that she makes in commission. This is not the end of the problem. We also have to calculate how much money she earns from her hourly wage, or her hourly rate. So reading back through the problem, she made $9.50 per hour, and she worked for 125 hours. So we're going to take her hourly rate of $9.50 and multiply it by how many hours she worked. So $9.50 times 125 gives me $1,187.50 for her hourly rate. Then we want to know her total amount that she earns. So I need to go and add her commission back to her hourly rate. Her commission was $335.60. When I add $1,187.50 to $335.60, I get that her total amount earned was $1,523.10 total.